these files, if you go over an hour, they get even when an hour, they get so big to convert. Okay, so in the formies, and by the way, nothing of this will be on the test. You know, this is the test ends with sharks. Okay, they have what's called Weberian apparatus. Figure 6.10. Okay, and it's for hearing, and it's basically 4 pairs of bones. So 4 pairs of bones, and they're small bones, so we're going to call them ossicles. And they're derived from the first 4 vertebrae. And what they do is they link the swim bladder to the inner ear, and it just serves to enhance the conduction of the sound waves from the swim bladder to the ear. So you know sound travels really well in water, will go through the fish, will go to the swim bladder. So if this is a dorsal view, okay, so dorsal, we're looking from the top, that's the swim bladder. Okay, this is the vertebra, spinal column there. Okay, so swim bladder. Okay, and then you get into the head of the fish, and let's say that this is the ear bones here. Okay. So basically, what the Weberian connection is from here to here. They just have. And I'm not drawing this the way it should be. Just imagine 4 ossicles like that will connect like that. Okay. So and then same on this side. You know, like that. So sound goes from the water into the fish to the swim bladder, and then it gets transmitted this way to the ear. So it's just an adaptation to this, but what it means is, in this group of fish, because they hear well, you see some adaptations into their behavior. You know, and we're not going to get into that, but you might see males having mating calls. Like they'll go into their little territory and start calling, you know, during mating season for the females, you know, or males fighting with sound, you know, so that because of they have this, it would leads to being able to some other behavior that fish that don't have that can't. Okay. Some of these species are the opposite of catadromous, and they are anadromous. So this is just the opposite. So sea to fresh. Okay. And usually there's some, you know, they go to spawn. You know, think of like salmon. Okay, they go up to the rivers, spawn, and then die. Okay. Hold on. Oh, I'm gonna stop sharing and share again. So the group left, the Eutilios. So these are, again, EU meaning true. So true bony fish. This is the big group, the most diverse ones. And I'm just going to show you pictures of them. Okay. Oops, maybe. There you go. So eels and mories. Again, these are the ones that have their mouths usually open and pump water in and out. Okay. The Cypriniformes. This is a big group. It includes all what people call minnows. You know, be in this group. Usually smaller fish. The tail is, you know, again, it's homocircle. It usually has 2 little dorsal and a ventral. Oh, come on. Siluriformes. These are the catfish. Some, and we have some to dissect in the lab. The cool thing with these is they have the barbels, these little whiskers, which they use to kind of sense and smell their way, they're scavengers to finding food. They have on the dorsal fin, right in front, they have a big spine. And then right here on the pectoral fin, they have another spine. So if you ever grabbed a catfish, this is something that you know. If you never grab the catfish, be careful because it will go right into your hand, right there and then right there. And what they use it for is if they're being eaten by a predator, they'll raise up these fins and just stab the predator in the mouth. Okay. I mentioned a fin called a adipose fin, and here's an example. So it's just a little piece of fat. It's not like a fin like that, but that's all it is there. The Cyprinodontiformes. So it's a little different than Cypriniformes. Cyprinodontiformes. These are mostly aquarium fish. Think of your aquarium, mostly freshwater fish. Think of your aquarium fish. That's what these will be. So like your guppies, your mollies. Most of them are they're called live bears. They give birth. They're basically viviparous. And then one of the things they have is they call a gonopodium. So the males, the anal fin, like this is a female. This is a female. In the male, the anal fin will be long. Instead of being rounded like this, will be elongated, and it's called the gonopodium. Okay. And then the Perciformes. Okay, about 40% of all fish are Perciformes. So, if you go swimming, you can't kick a fish without hitting a Perciformes. The bass, the perch, snappers, mullets, just about everything is a Perciformes. Let's see. So part of the lab is we go to the aquarium if it's open, but then you look for these fish, and you can tell all these characteristics when you see them. There's these fish called the Pleuronectiformes. They're the flatfish. Flounders, halibuts, soles, okay, and basically they're flat, but when they're young, when they're juvenile, they're not flat. They look like a normal fish. And then one side kind of stays, and then the other one kind of joins the other one, okay? So when you look, so you basically have right-sided fish and left-sided fish. So when you look at this one right here on the right, you see that on the bottom right here, you see that the left side of this fish is more prominent, right? And you have the eye and you have the mouth. And then on the right one, it's kind of smooshed. So this will be a left, and usually we say eye, left eye flounder, okay? So when we go to the aquarium, you're going to look for, is it a left eye or a right side or right eye, left-sided or right-sided, okay? And that's basically what they use for the taxonomy. Is it a right-sided or a left-sided? Okay. Tetraodontiformes. These are the ones that, to me, if I'm trying to describe, is like they're in a box. They're kind of, their body looks like it's confined. The filefish, the puffers, the triggerfish, they go from being squared fish to triangular to a big blob like the puffer fish. That once it's in danger, it just fills up with water. Okay? And then you have the weird one, the mola mola, which is just a big blob. Okay? Again, Salmoniformes, the salmon, pike, trout. Again, they also have that little adipose fin. And then we get into the Sarcopterygii. Okay, again, these are the ones that have the lobe fin. And we have the lungfish. Okay, again, the lungfish, because they don't have lungs like us, they have that pocket of extension from the gut that they fill with air by going up to the surface and swallowing it. And then there's a capillary inside that they can extract air. So these have, again, long history, fresh, and they can live in fresh water that can dry out. Okay? And that's how we have fossils. But they, or some of them have a, this is actually, I'm sorry, let me slow down. So again, they have a long history of evolution, but for the last 200 million years or so, they haven't diversified much. Okay? There are 4 genera, one in Australia, one in South Africa, and then there's in Africa. Okay, the African one, the one of the species in Africa, if you keep it underwater, the fish will drown. So it has to come up. The gills are not enough. It has to come up to get air. The one in Africa and South America build these little, when the water is drying out, they build these little cocoons out of mud, and they just have a little hole for the mouth to get air, and then they like instead of hibernate, which is in the winter, in the summer it's called estivate. So they estivate until the rainy season comes, and there are fossils of these cocoons with these fish in them. Okay. I don't know which is which. And if someone was going to ask me, I don't know which species here is which, but you can tell that this one on the upper left, that the fins are almost gone. And then we have our little star. This is the coelacanth. Okay. This is the fish that for many years biologists were looking for a fish that had the bones in the fins that was the ancestor of the modern land animals, and they couldn't find them. And then in 1938, so they thought they were extinct for about 65 million years. So that's, I mean, a long time. Excuse me, I have to drink water. And then in 1938, this woman that was a curator in a museum in South Africa was going, she usually go to the fish market and look for strange fish, weird fish that she could get to the museum. And she saw one of these. And she thought, it could be a coelacanth, but they're supposed to be extinct. So she got it to the museum, and then she called the local fish guy that came, and then the whole world, the guy went insane because, he just found a living fossil. So this fish is called a living fossil. There are 2 animals on the planet called living fossils. This is one of them. The other one is a reptile. We'll get to that one. Okay. So these links, and you have it in your PowerPoint. If not, I'll put this in. Shows you the history. So Marjorie Letimeria is the woman that found it. It's named after her, Letimeria chalumnae. And then it shows it swimming. Actually, I want to show you that one. Hold on. Okay, that's not what I want to show you. There we go. Can you see? Can you still see that?
Yes.
Can you see the YouTube now?
No, just the screen.
Okay, hold on. So let me stop this. Go back to there. So one of the things that that's interesting about this fish, being that it's that has the same bone or homologous bones to, you can see that now, right? Let me stop that. Has the homologous bones to the land vertebrates, is its ability to let me see, put that up there. There you go. Think of the way we walk. So when we're walking, if you have your left foot forward, you do the opposite arm. You do the right arm. And so basically you alternate like this. Legs and arms alternate. Okay. When you think of a normal fish swimming, the fins, they go at the same time. They go like that. I think you can still see me on the camera, right? They go like this, same time. Well, when you look at these fish swimming, they alternate the fin movement, just like they were walking on on the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear this, but let me play. Oops, can you hear it?
No.
Yeah. Okay. It just actually it's no talking. It's just kind of like the. But you see how the fins alternate? So they got way too many fins. But see how right there you have, just look on the side, right? The anterior and then the posterior. So that one and that one. See how they alternate. So it's not like a butterfly swimming. Swimming. It's alternating. So what this tells us, they have the genes that are similar to the land vertebrate genes, like they alternate the movement. Okay. And they're big, darker. They have these little white spots on them. This thing of being upside down, they don't know why they do that. Okay. They were found. I mean, the first one was found in deep water, something like over 2,000 feet. So that's that's another reason why they thought they were extinct. That unless you're deep water fishing, you're not going to catch these. Um, Estimated they can live up to 60 years. They are viviparous, and they have a type of tail that are only found in. Oh, okay, this might be cool. Hold on. Nope. Okay, I'm not going to show the whole video because it's 22 minutes. But let me just skip to the. I'm going to make sure those links are available for you guys if you want to see them. Let me see. Okay. You can tell they're in deep water if you're diving. Look, he's doing nitrox diving. He's got extra tanks. So they're in deep water. So since the first one was found off the coast of Madagascar, Mozambique, there has been another species. So there are two species that we know. The next one was found off Indonesia. So they still have the same genus, Latimeria, but there's two species now. Okay. Let me find when they find them. I think they find them here. Nope, that's not a coelacanth. And off South Africa, the country, they found them in relatively shallow waters. And that's what one of the videos shows you, that they go, and shallow meaning like 200, So they go and they find them. Oh, here they go. Here they find it. There they go. Now look at the size of the fish compared to the person, and they're not really scared. Oops. They just kind of there. Oh, this is a good time to show you something. Okay, remember I said that the tail is different. It's not heterocircle, homocircle. It's called diphlocircle, and you can see it here. And I'll draw this out for sure, but basically it has a point in the middle. So it's like a pointy end, and the vertebral column goes right through that. Okay, so it's only found in coelacanth. Now that's a pretty good tame. I mean, the fish is just there. These two divers right next to them with lights and cameras, and the fish is like whatever. All right. Yeah, we don't care. Uh, okay, hold on. It's still playing. Oh, hold on. Share. There you go. So you see that the tail here is circle. It looks different. Let me spell it here. Again, only found in these animals, not found in anything else. So die for having two, and then phi, and then the rest is circle. Okay, only found in these fish. You can tell right in the middle, it's really symmetrical. Okay, so they are considered living fossils. Again, viviparous. The tail that has like three lobes, one, two, three. They can live up to 60 years or more, about 200 pounds. They can get up, over 6 feet. So yeah, living fossils. And I'll put these videos, um, the links to the videos, if you want to go see them. Okay. Now these, the coelacanths, if you think of the old idea that these fish evolved into land vertebrates, okay, so that they would have to have a way of getting out of the water, crawling, which if they have these bones in their fins, they could, but they would have to have a way of breathing. You can't just be the okay. You have to have some type of lung or gas bladder that would function as a lung, but you got to have something more like how you're just swallowing air. Okay, so there was a group. So I'm going to switch to the camera now. There's a group of fish that for the longest time they thought were the intermediates of between the coelacanths and the land vertebrates. Okay, we know they're not, but they were, and the reasons they were is because they had an internal nair. Okay, so they were called. You can see here. Sorry, the Rhipidistians. Rhipidistians. Okay, because they had an internal nair. Okay, and so basically, like if that's the mouth of the fish, here's the eye, like that. They would have they had a little opening there. Hold on, and then this opening is connected to. I'm trying to draw something like a blowhole, basically, connected to that, like that. So the air would go in, come down here. They would, swallow it, go into the gas bladder lung, and then it would come out through here. Okay, this is called the cloaca. So the Rhipidistians were thought to be the ancestor or the intermediate and the ancestors of I'm sorry, CH. Cloaca. Now we know they were not, but at that for a long time that's what they were. Okay, so that's the end of the bony fish anatomy and kind of taxonomy. Okay, one of the things now I'm going to talk about is just the a little bit on the ecology and behavior. Where are they found, where they live, and what do they do? Okay. Oh, that didn't work out. Okay, so the ocean is very deep. There's different layers of the ocean, and you have fish that live in these different layers. Okay, and so imagine that. Hold on, draw this. That's the surface. Then you go down deep like that. Okay. So the top layer, it's called the epipelagic. And this is, how should I say, there's the inshore, or, epipelagic. Um, think of it of the inshore would be from 0 to about 100 meters. Okay. The epipelagic, you can think, this area has lots of sunlight. This would be something like the 100 to 200 meters. Okay. So I'm not going to ask you the specific depth, but know the order. Okay. And then you have the open ocean. The open ocean is called the pelagic. Okay. So pelagic or open ocean. Okay. They are pelagic fish and they are epipelagic fish. Okay. This doesn't belong here. Okay. And just like they are pelagic birds and so on. Okay. So the pelagic now can be broken down into different areas. Okay. The topmost layer. Okay. So the names all end in pelagic. Okay. So this is the mesopelagic. Mesopelagic. Okay. And that's from 200 to about 1,000. This is also called the twilight area because it still has some light, but not obviously not as much as the pelagic. I mean, the epipelagic. Okay, so in the mesopelagic, you're going to find fish that are smaller. Not a lot of food that they can get. Black skin. They tend to have these bioluminescent organs. Let me write up here. Bioluminescent organs, which is basically a symbiotic bacteria. So there's no primary production. So what they do is they depend on vertical migrations. Okay. So what they do is they go up to the surface at night to feed, and then daytime they go back down. Okay. And this is one of the biggest migrations on the planet, just all these fish going up and down. There are submarines that report, like the scattering of all these fish going up and down. Fish like anglerfish, if you saw Finding Nemo, you saw one of these, the anglerfish. Okay. And the anglerfish is, remember Nemo, the one that had the little, looks like a little lantern in the angler? It's a really famous fish for biology because, this is the female, right? Big mouth, then has a little angler. And for many, many, many years, they only found females. They didn't know what the males were, okay? But they knew they had to be males. And then some of these female had a little parasite attached to it, okay? Well, one day someone looked at the DNA of that parasite and they realized that's a male. So the males were much smaller, and their way of reproducing is attaching themselves to the female as a parasite, nourish off her, and then produce the sperm and give it to her. All right, so that's the mesopelagic. Okay, the next one down is called the bathypelagic. Bathypelagic. Okay, and this would be so from 1,000 to 4,000. These are meters. Okay, this is called the midnight. Okay, so twilight. The epic, I didn't give you that name, it's called the sunlight. Hold on, I'll move my hand out of the way. Okay, sunlight, twilight, midnight. And the bathypelagic, actually, I'm going to combine the next one too because it's pretty much the same. The abyssopelagic. Okay, so 4,000 to about 6,000, and then you have the deep trenches. Okay, which is, to imagine that's the bottom of the ocean. You have these big trenches here. Okay, so this would be the hadopelagic or the hadal. Okay, two names. But this is the trenches. So let's say more than 6,000 meters, more than 6 kilometers. Okay? So the bathy and the abysso. By the way, if I'm going too fast, just tell me, okay? So the bathy and the abysso. So these fish don't migrate. They stay there, okay? So it's cold, dark, high pressure. You have this strange looking fish like the gulper eel, basically like fish that have like slim little flimsy bodies, but with a giant mouth. Okay, viper eels. You can Google these pictures. It's basically like something like that's the mouth, and then that's the fish, like that, like weird looking things. Okay, weak, flabby bodies, almost no skeleton. Again, black skin, um, almost no reduced gills, small eyes or non-functioning eyes, a big mouth. The metabolism has to be small or low, and you can guess that they have no swim bladder or tinies that don't work, okay, because they wouldn't be going up and down. And what these fish do is they have to rely on food coming down. So as food comes down, they'll eat it. Um, and then the hado, or when you get down to the trenches, again, the deepest, or the fish that was found the deepest, was a flounder that was found in the Mariana Trenches at about 7,000 meters. Again, these fish have to rely on food coming down. Okay? So they might eat today and then go a month without eating, whenever next thing washes down. One other environment that is separate from here are the cold water fish, the polar fish. So that they live in water that, it's always cold. It's not going to get warm. So they must have physiological adaptations so that they don't freeze. Okay, and you're going to see that in polar fish, their bodies are somewhat transparent. So basically, and most of them don't have blood or don't have red blood cells because the water has so much oxygen that it goes right into the body. Okay, they also have special enzymes that don't let their body freeze. Okay, and it's almost like an antifreeze. So these enzymes are function, or they're being used for kind of a biotechnology, because if you can take this antifreeze enzyme from a fish and put it in a tomato, then the tomato is not going to freeze in the winter. So that they're trying to get that gene into different vegetables. Okay. I'm going to go back to the pelagic fish. Okay, so because I kind of skipped it, I just mentioned what they were. So the pelagic, the open pelagic, the fish that swim up in the open ocean, strong swimmers. They have a reduced swim bladder, but it's functioning swim bladder. This is your tuna. By the way, the tunas are the fastest fish in the ocean, and the mackerels. Okay, they have a really specialized physiology for swimming. Okay, I'm just going to give you some of the adaptations. So when you see one of these fish, you know. first, the shape. The shape of these fish tends to be something like this. Okay, the the technical biology. Whoops, that's an F. It's called fusiform. Basically, bullet shape. Fusiform shape. Okay, and so that it's less dragging through the water. Okay, the peduncle right here at the bottom, before the tail, this is really narrow. Okay, and then they have the tail, and the tail is like a half moon shaped. The name is lunate, okay, from Luna, so it's like that. Okay, half moon again, lowest drag. Okay, if you were looking on the peduncle right here, right, close like that, so here's the tail. Okay, they have little keels here that actually can fold into the skin, but these keels can be put out and help the fish navigate better. Okay, um, the fins, they they also don't, they can basically fold in, so they have little fins called finlets here. Okay, and if you were looking like head on, like if that's the head of the fish, right, and the fin is here, they have little grooves, so when the fin, like here's the fin, it can fold like that. So again, reduces the drag. Okay. They also can swim at higher speeds because they have an increased metabolic rate. Okay, so they have that ability. Uh, the gills have higher have higher surface area, so that they can extract more oxygen. Okay. They're called ram swimmers. So you see them, they're always swimming. Okay, so instead of being like fish where they pump water in and out, these fish just open their mouth and swim. Okay, and they can also increase their body temperature. It's estimated about 10 degrees Celsius above the environment. So you could kind of call them warm-blooded, even though they're not warm-blooded. Somewhat warm-blooded because of that. Okay, and if you looking inside at the anatomy, they have a lot of the counter current systems. You probably heard about counter current systems in other animals because it's common in biology systems. And it's basically where you have one system. Um, let's say this is the let's say that this is the gills here, okay, and this is the body, okay. So you have the two blood systems like that. So venous and arterial, okay. So going from the body, this would be warm blood, okay. As it goes out to the gills, it would get cooler and cooler, okay. So then it would cool off, and then if there was nothing else, when the blood went back into the body, it would be cold, and then the body would have to warm it up. So by having these two next to each other, it's actually, really in close connection. And if you were looking at cross section, you might have one like that, and then the other ones around it like that. Okay. So what happens is, as the warm blood goes out, and the cold goes the opposite way, there's going to be an exchange of heat between these. Okay. So the blood coming back into the body now has warmed up. So it goes out, it cools down, but it transfers the heat to this one. So the animal is not losing heat with this. Okay. Another adaptation to these fish, like the tuna, is myoglobin, or called red muscle. Okay, and they have myoglobin. So they have hemoglobin, but they also have hemoglobin in the blood. They also have myoglobin in the muscles, and it just carries more oxygen. So if this is the body of the fish, okay, they have this big muscle called the red muscle, and if you ever fillet a fish, you can see that difference. Or if you eating a cooked fish where you have the whole fillet, you see that there's a darker muscle right there. That's the red muscle. Okay, and it basically just it's muscle, but it just has myoglobin that can carry more oxygen. Doesn't get tired as easily like the regular white muscle. Okay. So that's some of the adaptations of fish like tuna to the being able to live and swim fast. Okay, so the last thing I want to go over today is reproduction in fish. So ways of reproduction. Okay, and we talked about fish changing sex. So this will be how what I'm going to be talking about. Some fish are born males and stay males. Some fish are born females and stay females. Normal. There are others that are born one sex, and then through some social thing, change to the other sex. Okay, so that's the examples I'm going to give that. Okay, so the big name for that is called sequential hermaphrodism. Okay. And that's not just in fish. Gastropods have it too. You probably learned this in invertebrates. Usually the bigger fish that's in charge of that particular group, when that fish is gone, the next big one changes sex to that. Okay, so the first example is protandrous hermaphrodites. Okay, you think of the name pro, that before, so these are born male. Okay, so male, and then at some point they go to female. Okay, the example I'm going to give you is the clownfish. The ones that live in sea anemones, like you saw on Nemo. Okay, so they are usually about 4 individuals that form this breeding group, this breeding pair around the sea anemone, and it's the female is the largest. So the female is the largest. Okay, and then the males being the second largest. Okay, and then usually there's a mating pair. So they have a mating pair. Okay, so the larger female, the biggest male, and then you might have like 2 other males that are not breeding. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with their reproduction. They're just not breeding. Okay, now if the female dies, so you're taking out the female. Okay, this male starts to gain weight and becomes the breeding female. Okay, and then one of these will become the breeding male. And so these are not sexually mature, but one of them, you probably usually is the strongest or the biggest one, will become the bigger, the reproductive male. Okay, this is not as common. Protandrous is not as common. Okay, the one that's most common is the opposite, protogynous. Protogynous. So first female hermaphrodites. So these go from female to male. Separate this. Okay. So they're born female, and then at some point they change to male. And again, there's external cues that make the animal change sex. This is the most common. Think of all the fish that do this, about 75% are female to male. Okay. Some of the like groupers, uh, wrasses, these are common fish that do this. And usually it's the largest. The largest is the male. Okay. Um, wrasses are a really common tropical fish. If you go scuba diving in the tropics, you see these really colorful. There's a blue-headed wrasse, a green-headed wrasse, a yellow-headed wrasse, and many like that. But it's like that. The bigger ones is so the bigger one's the male. Okay, that's the one, and usually they have um, a little harem of females. And they'll actually look different than the females. The females tend to be all the same color. Usually it's yellow with black stripes, and then the males, either blue color or green color, like that. And the male will have a territory, and will have its own little heron or its female group. But if you take out the male, so there'll be the females, and it doesn't have to be just one breeding. You can have more than one breeding females, right? But if you take, females, right? Um, but if you take out the male, the biggest female, okay, will become the male, the breeding pair. So that they have the organs or the tissue for both testes and ovaries, but only one will be functioning at the time. Um, in California, there's a type of wrasse that's really common if you go diving off San Diego. It's called the Senorita wrasse. Okay, it's one of these. Okay, the California sheep's head is one of these. Again, when you go to the aquarium, we'll see these fish. Um, so that and some of them, I think the sheep's head, it's actually like an age. Like they get to a certain age, they can they can change. So there'll be a female, for example, for like 4 years, then it can change. Um, the males, again, the adult males usually call the terminal phase because they'll look differently. That like the juveniles all look the same. The females just look like bigger juveniles, and then the mature males will look different. Like the head will be blue, green, depending on the species. That's the name, like blue-headed wrasse, green-headed wrasse, and that's called the terminal phase. Okay. And that's usually when you're scuba diving or snorkeling for these. You see all these, yellow fish with black stripes, and then you see one of the terminal males, and you know what species the yellow ones are, because otherwise they're just yellow fish with black stripes. That's the end of what I have today. I know I gave you a lot of material, but don't stress out, especially about the big fancy words or the taxonomy. Okay. I'm going to finish the writing the exam right now, and then I can put another, more updated study guide on. I'll email it so you don't have to log in. Okay. Again, the test will be tomorrow or Monday. There'll actually be two tests. One, the multiple choice, one with the essays. You can take them whenever you want, separately or one after the other. And you have all day tomorrow, all day Sunday. When you're studying, if you have questions, send them to me. I'll be checking email more often. One thing is, if you make sure you use Chrome. Don't get caught. Make sure there's nothing If you call Blackboard, they always say clear your cache before you actually do this. So you might just want to do that before. If you get into trouble, I can't stop the test because I can't reset it unless you're the only one that took the test, because other people might have taken it. So just don't stress out, and then just let me know. Call Blackboard, figure out what's wrong, and then I can go in and reopen it for you. You will have to take it again. But if you took 20 questions, if you answered 20 questions, then start at 21. Okay. And I think that's it. Do you have any questions? Anything you want to go over? No? Okay. Go enjoy your Saturday, and email me if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect, will do.
Thank you.
Take care.